Alright. Okay, I was just gonna say let's skip ahead and wait till it stops, but then it stopped immediately, so here we are. I hadn't heard much from Mark since we decided that we were possibly dating. Yeah, I've been very interested to see what his idea of a date is. Because I feel like he took the whole confession thing from books. So I'm curious what his dates are gonna look like. No, dating sounded too strong. Possibly going to go out sometime, just to see what happened? Really, it was all very confusing. I knocked on his door cautiously. Oh, and I don't know why that reminded me, but I looked up what he said to us in Russian, and it means "you are the best," which is what he says to us all the time. So he was speaking Russian, confirmed. So maybe that's part of why he something to do with that. Because he said he has admitted to being in France. He spoke Russian to us, so he's traveled around quite a bit. Anyway, we're knocking on his door cautiously. Let's see when he opens up a little bit. Mark? Are you there?
What is it?
Oh, MALIA! Hello. Do you need something? I was hoping to talk to you, really. Yes, we are talking. He was so enthusiastic the other day, and yet he hadn't done anything since then. Are you going anywhere for spring break? I know a few people in the hostel were going home to see their families for the break. I couldn't, though. A ticket to New York would cost too much. There is also the... Her talking about it costing too much just made me remember that he also has a lot of money. I'm so curious if we're going to find out where he gets the money that he gives us to go to the beach. A mystery, this Mark.
No, I do not wish to travel. My paper needs more time.
Oh, you're working on a big school project? His eyes lit up and he began to describe some sort of complicated relationship between battle strategies and library organization structures, which didn't really make any sense to me. Yeah, that's great. I was just wondering if you wanted to do anything together this week.
Oh.
Suddenly his shoulders drooped and his eyes went from starry to shimmering with sadness all in one swoop.
I am sorry, Malia. I cannot. I have promised myself to this project.
We are supposed to be on a break from schoolwork.
It is an obligation. Society cannot function if no one upholds their obligations. There will be time to be social in a few weeks. If we live that long.
What?
There are no guarantees in life, are there? I can promise that I will take you on an outing, but even if I intend to follow my obligation, I might be hit by a car. It's something we have to accept. I promise that if I am alive and able, I will go somewhere with you this month.
Thanks, I guess. He really is weird. He's got obligations. Man's got a paper to write. Sheesh. Alright, well... let's... read more books? Since, Mark seems to like books. What the... On my way back to my room, I nearly stumbled over something sitting by my door. Someone had left a potted plant in front of my room. I picked it up. Ordinary terracotta flower pot, no fancy paper or ribbon. The plant didn't even have flowers, though it smelled kind of nice. Had Peggy decided we all needed plants in our rooms for some kind of green initiative? That sounds like Peggy. I looked up and down the hall but didn't see any other pots. Aha! There was a note on the floor which had been hidden by the plant. I picked it up.
This is for you. If you are allergic or hate plants, please give it back to me. Mark. P.S. Let's go to the opera next Thursday.
Dang! Guy just gives you, like, a not, not very exciting plant. And then it's like, let's go to the opera. First date is the opera? Whew. What are we gonna go see? Opera? Mark liked opera? I wasn't sure what to make of that, or of this gift. Was it romantic, or just plain weird? I think you're the one that's weird, girl. Well, I was supposed to be trying new things in England, wasn't I? It wouldn't hurt to go. Maybe at some point Mark and I would actually manage to have a conversation, too. We'd been living in the same place for months, and I still felt like we barely knew each other. Whether it was a date or a friendly outing, at least it would be something. Actually, an opera is like the perfect place for a person like Mark to go out on a date, because you have to be quiet while you're listening for hours. So, he doesn't have to be forced to talk. Oh, I'm so excited. Yay!
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh!
Can you stop bouncing like that? Operas are supposed to be kind of fancy. You're going to draw attention to yourself. The day of my outing with Mark had arrived, but it wasn't going exactly like I had expected.
But I am very excited. I have never seen an opera before.
Really? But this was your idea.
Yes, I wish to do something new. Isn't that wonderful?
I guess so. It's new for me, too. I've never seen an opera. I thought maybe I should broaden my horizons.
Yes, you understand.
He grabbed my hand and pumped it vigorously. I guess it's good that we can share something together for our first date.
Date? This is not a date.
It isn't?
No, this is the opera. I want to focus completely on the experience.
Then why was I even here? I want to share it with you, even if it's not a date. He can't focus on the date and the opera. One's gotta take priority.
And afterwards we can discuss the story.
Yeah, I guess. We handed our tickets to the usher, who told us to head up to the balcony level. Dang, he got some good tickets.
Oh my goodness, we're almost there.
Careful or you'll bounce right over the edge. He just grinned at me. It was cute seeing him so happy, but it was confusing at the same time. Eventually, the show began. To be honest, I couldn't really understand much of what was being said, but it looked like a tragedy. Quarrels over love, a childhood friend turned lover, or something like that. I couldn't help watching Mark as much as I watched the show. His exaggerated expressions of delight, sympathy, and anger were more entertaining to me than the opera was. We invited him into our room on this not date?
Thank you so much. I'm so happy that we got to go. Did you notice that part where...
He went on like that for ages, extolling the virtues of the libretto, the staging, the performer's vocal ranges, and so on. Often details that I really hadn't noticed and wouldn't have cared about. I'd like to say that his enthusiasm was infectious, but honestly, I still didn't really care that much. It was a show, and it was okay. That was all. Yeah, kind of like that concert you went to with Brendan. It's just a show. Blue. I was generally glad that I had gone, but I still didn't entirely understand why Mark had wanted to go with me. It seemed like anyone would have done. I don't get Malia in this one. She was like so over, like all over Brendan. And then with Mark, she's just like, you know, with Brendan, she's like, it's kind of like our song and our band. And then she goes to this opera and she's like, it was a thing. I mean, I get that Mark and Brendan are very different people, and she was definitely on a date with Brendan, and Mark's like, no, this isn't a date. But still, I'm like, oh, this boy. Hey, Malia, you'd better get your ass upstairs. What? Why? Because there's a box of chalks in front of your door, and if RC sees it before you do, she might just nick it. A box of chocolates? Was it from Mark? Here we go again. At least this was a slightly more traditional romantic present. Nice chocolates in a golden box. I peeked inside to be sure Peggy hadn't filched one for herself, but the display appeared to be intact. Everyone accusing everybody of stealing in this place. Underneath the chocolates was another note and a book.
I hope you are having an awesome day. Please enjoy these chocolates. Also, please read this. We can talk about it later. Mark.
I turned the book over and over in my hands. What did repairing motorcycles have to do with philosophy? Well, that was Mark for you. The Philosophy of Repairing Motorcycles, Part 1. Alright.
Hello, Malia.
If he were a dog, he would have jumped up and licked my face. That's how happy he looked to see me. Poor Mark. Hi.
It is good to see you.
I gathered that.
I was hoping we could have some time to talk today. I have turned in my draft, so I am not so busy. How have you been doing with the book I gave you?
The truth was, I had looked at it once and then set it aside and forgotten about it. I had enough things to read for class this week. I didn't need to dig into some weird philosophy. Okay, well, I know Mark appreciates you being truthful and upfront, so we'll admit that we have not read it. I really haven't had time to look at it this week. I've been busy with class and my job and everything.
Ah, I understand. Perhaps you will have more time later, yes?
Maybe. I'm really not sure I'm into this kind of thing, though.
If you read a little and then we discuss it together, you can know better whether you are interested.
I was starting to feel like hanging out with Mark was just going to be an extra class that I wouldn't even get to put on my transcript, and I was about to say that when...
And if there is anything you would like me to read to understand you better, tell me so.
Oh, yeah, I can do that. Trading books that mean something to us was a way we could learn to understand each other. That's actually very sweet. So he's like, I'm interested in motorcycles. Here, you can learn about me this way. Let me think about it a little bit, okay?
Of course.
I like that. That's very sweet. Okay. Skipping ahead again. So now we're going to go to the beach. Okay, let's go back, because this is where he gives us the money. Is this going to be different? The night before the cash deadline, I pulled up my bank balance. As I read the number there, my heart dropped. A little over 400 pounds, not enough for the trip. I was so close. If I'd only had more time. But I knew better than to expect James to cover the difference or let me pay him back later. So, was that it? Was I just not going? I collapsed into my chair, completely at a loss.
Yo! Malia, are you in there?
Ah! I tried to close out of my bank account, but not before Mark glanced at the screen. He's so good at reading over our shoulder.
Ooh, that's rough. I don't suppose you've given James the money already.
I shook my head.
Too bad. So no trip for you, my friend?
I suppose not. I'll just stay here. It's fine. I'll figure out something else to do with my time. Mark shook his head.
Do you think James will trust you to stay here alone?
Oh, shit! Aww. I tugged at my hair. He's going to cancel the whole thing, and it will be my fault. Mark grinned.
Tell you what, I'll fill in for you. I'll give you the rest of the money, eh?
What? I glanced up at Mark, and to my surprise, he drew a rolled-up wad of cash from his pocket.
This should cover what you need.
He flicked a few bills off the stash and held the rest of it out to me.
Here, no strings attached. Ah, except for one, I suppose. Do not tell the others that I gave you this. Also, do not ask where this came from. I assure you it's clean.
Mark, I don't know when I'll be able to pay you back.
Don't pay me back. I don't want it. It's yours already.
He smacked me lightly across the face with the money.
Take it. My arm is getting tired.
I took it, hand shaking slightly. But...
Quiet. Don't ask questions. Anyways, I'll see you tomorrow.
He stuffed the remaining few bills back in his pocket and left the room. What? I stared at the bills in my hands, 20-pound notes, all of them. Added to the money I had already saved, it would be more than enough for the trip. Why did Mark have so much money? Well, at least this meant I would be able to go on the trip with everyone else, so yay? Maybe it would be better to just deliver the money to James and not think about it. So nothing changed with that scene. Interesting. It played out exactly the same as it always has. Alright. Well, are we gonna actually do anything differently at the beach, like while we're away, or? Not much has progressed with these two. I made my way over to them. What are you two up to?
Malia, this is wonderful. Two of my favorite people in the same place.
Mark, we're always in the same place. We live in the same building.
Yes, but now you are all to myself. It makes me so happy. Do you want to play a game?
I guess.
Let's play Truth or Dare. What do you think, Ashley? Truth or Dare?
Truth then.
Truth? Okay, I have to ask you something embarrassing. When was the last time you wet yourself?
What? You have one chance to get her to tell the truth. Anything you want, any naughty thing, and you ask her when she last peed her pants?
Of course. It is embarrassing. So she must speak or change to a dare if she is afraid.
That's not juicy at all. She probably last peed herself when she was a kid, like the rest of us. Laughing too hard at a comedy show last fall. Never speak of this again. I'm not even going to think about this again. Alright, on that note. Okay, so we are actually... something's happening. Mark followed me around the entire trip. And not in a swimsuit. He just wears the same clothes all the time. All I wanted to do was have fun with the rest of the hostel group, but Mark was constantly next to me or behind me like a loyal puppy. It was either adorable or the most annoying thing I had ever experienced. Maybe both. Finally, I lost my temper and snapped at him. Can't you give me any space? You're breathing down my neck.
What? Am I bothering you by doing this?
I stared at him. Yes!
Okay, I won't do it anymore.
After that, Mark started avoiding me, standing on the far edge of the group directly opposite me, whatever it took to give me the most space. Despite that, however, he would watch me from afar. He didn't even seem all that sad about it, just curious. Regardless, it made him keep his distance from the rest of the group, too. As the day faded to night, I started to feel guilty for snapping at him. After all, he wasn't hurting me, he was just being a little strange. I approached him after dinner that night and pulled him out to the beach to talk. Now there's a novel idea. Hey, I really need to talk with you about something.
Okay, shoot.
Mark grinned up at me with all the innocence of a child. I had hoped he would pick up on the seriousness of my attempt to talk with him, but the emotional context seemed to pass right over his head. Well, here's the thing. I don't understand why you think you like me so much. We've hardly spent any time together as friends, much less romantically. Not to mention I didn't exactly return your feelings. And the only time we've gone out, you said it wasn't really a date. Mark's smile remained and he blinked at me innocently.
I'm not surprised you feel that way, but you're one of the people I've spent the most time with.
What? Really?
Other than Ashley, I have few words with anyone else at all. Most people seem to avoid me.
I thought back to the group gatherings as far as I was aware of them. If Mark wasn't downright avoided, he was ignored.
You had the decency to be honest with me about what I was doing wrong. You called me out on it so that I could correct it. You were willing to share experiences with me and talk to me about them. You see, I'm not very good at talking to people. I spent a lot of time alone throughout my life. But I don't want to get into it. I don't like dwelling on sad things.
You don't?
Why spend time thinking about things that can't be changed? It's a waste. And if thinking about it makes you sad again now, then it is worse than useless, it is counterproductive. But what it means is that I haven't had the chance to understand society's nonverbal cues. I don't understand the things that people don't say out loud. That's my hypothesis. It wasn't such a problem in France, but people are much less blunt here. I've been meaning to thank you. I really appreciate that you were clear with me and told me what you thought. I need that kind of person in my life. Someone like you in my life. It's kindness through harshness, and most people are too afraid to do something like that. That's why I ended up the way I am after so long. That is why I like you. You're brave.
I flushed. I had feared Mark only liked me for superficial reasons, or because he wanted something from me, but it turned out he had legitimate reasons for liking me. Maybe we should try a bit harder with this. Go on a real romantic type date and see what happens. Mark beamed.
Really? Oh, if I knew you were confused, I would have explained it to you much earlier.
Mark grabbed my hands and held them to his heart.
Let's go on an official date after we get back, okay? Do you promise?
Yes, I promise.
Fantastic!
Mark jumped into the air, whooping and shouting. I grabbed him and hushed him. It's late.
Oh, right. It's late and we need to get back tomorrow. We should both get a good night's rest. So then, I'll see you tomorrow.
Mark beamed at me again and skipped through the hotel doors. I turned to the ocean, watching the moonlight reflect off the waves. Well, there it was. My first proper date. And it would be with Mark. I wasn't sure whether to laugh or cry, but I was excited. Happier than I had been in a long time, I headed inside and went to sleep. I'm sad that the date's supposed to happen after we get back, because the thieving incident happens when we get back. I don't know how Mark's going to take that. I really... Oh, come on, Mark, give me a reason to hope, please. Here we go! Okay, let's see what happens. First, I get framed for something I didn't do. Then I lose my job. And now everybody thinks I'm a terrible person. Ashley, Jihyo, probably even Mark. Mark! I dashed about the hostel, desperately searching for him anywhere he could be. Oh boy. He wasn't in my room, or the kitchen, or the living room. Could he have gone out? The school library, maybe? Where was he? Finally, after about an hour of searching and waiting around in various places, receiving dirty looks from whomever happened to pass by, I gave up. I could talk to him tomorrow, though no part of me wanted to wait until then. But it was late and I needed to sleep for work. Well, I guess I didn't anymore, did I? Still, it was something to do, something to keep me on schedule and keep me sane. Sleep now, figure everything out later. I crept up the stairs and turned down the hallway to my room. There, in front of my door, staring absently ahead, was Mark. He looked up as I approached. Were you waiting for me? He shrugged. Please, I spent so much time looking for you. Will you hear me out? Mark didn't say anything. He just looked at me, his non-expression never changing. I chose to take that as a yes. I didn't do it. I know that nobody will believe me, but that's the truth. I didn't do it, and there's no reason that I would. The video. I was fixing the cash register. The drawer was sticking partly open, so I took it apart to find the problem and put it back in. I know it looks bad, but I would never do that to the hostel. You guys are my friends, and you're important to me. This is my home away from home. I don't have anywhere else to go other than here. And after you gave me all that money so I could go on the beach trip and wouldn't even be broke afterwards, why would I go to the trouble to steal 100 pounds after that? So I know nobody will believe me, but it's the truth. I didn't do it. Mark continued to look at me. Shame crept up my neck and I cast my eyes to the floor. I'm sorry. I know this must have hurt you. Regardless of whether you believe in my innocence, I'm sure you've been upset, and you probably just spent an hour wondering what happened. I'm sorry you had to go through this. Still, Mark didn't say anything, but he didn't move away from my door either. Will you please say something? I'm dying here. I didn't have much else to say. There was nothing left. Instead, we stood in an awkward stalemate as I waited for his decision. Finally, after what must have been at least 3 full minutes, Mark spoke. Well, he took his time.
I forgive you.
I glanced up at him in surprise. What?
I forgive you. I believe that you didn't do it.
Mark, I could kiss you. I'm so happy. Mark, I love you. Oh, someone else is decent in this place. You do? Even though... Mark shook his head firmly and held up a hand.
I don't care. I don't want to hear it.
There was a heaviness to his actions, a sense of finality and seriousness that I had never seen before. I must have looked confused because he sighed.
Bad things happen. People do bad things. It's best not to dwell on it.
He said it like somebody was putting his foot through a meat grinder. Then the tension seemed to leave his body and he smiled.
The bottom line is that you make me happy. We should focus on that, not get caught up in something silly like this.
Silly?
You said you didn't do it, and regardless of what is the truth, you're not going to do it again, are you?
No, of course not.
Then there's nothing to worry about.
He smiled at me, but not like his excited puppy grin. It seemed kind of distant. Well, thank you, I guess.
No problem.
Rather than hugging me, he clapped me on the arm and headed off down the hallway. That was odd. It wasn't like Mark at all to be so quiet and unenthusiastic around me. Clearly this upset him. But he said he forgave me. Mark forgave? Everything's just gonna be a question. I'm gonna chase after him and see what happens. I took off down the hallway, reaching Mark just as he was going down the stairs. Mark? I stopped mid-sentence. Mark looked at me, his face the saddest I'd ever seen it. As he realized why I was there, it quickly transitioned to anger.
What? What do you want now?
You seemed kind of down, so...
Of course I am down! I'm upset!
Then why did you just blindly forgive me and walk away without even talking about it? I don't want you to repress your feelings to try and make me feel better. Your feelings matters too. Don't you value yourself? A brief look of shock crossed his face.
It's not that I don't value myself, it's that I value my happiness over being afraid. There's darkness everywhere in the world, but there's no point in focusing on that. If you make me happy, you make me happy. I'm not going to make myself miserable just because I'm scared you might be a bad person. I thought you, of all people, would understand that. Just leave me alone. I really don't want to see your face right now.
He took a few steps down the stairs and stopped. Blood rushed through my veins as my heart went into a panic. Then he turned again.
I'll be better in the morning.
With that said, he was gone. With a heavy heart, I returned to my room. In the morning, I could gather my bearings. For now, I just wanted to rest. Interesting. Yeah, so I don't know if that worked. I'm kind of glad she, what's the word? Confronted him about it. Rather than just leaving it. I'm gonna stick with it for now and see what happens. Alright. I was nervous about what would happen when I next saw Mark, but to my surprise...
Hey, Malia!
He patted the seat next to him when I'd finished cooking my breakfast. I sat down next to him, searching his face. He seemed the same as usual.
Something wrong?
Are you... okay?
Yep, I'm fine now. Everything looks better with a good night's sleep.
Well... oh god, not again. Alright. You know what? This time I'm gonna let it rest. That's good then.
Yep. Here, have a bite of my berries. They're abnormally delicious today.
We ate breakfast as usual. Mark acted as if nothing was wrong. Eventually, I relaxed and acted the same. Slowly, the tension dissipated and our dynamic returned to how it was before the reveal. I didn't understand why Mark didn't hold the incident against me, but I appreciated it nonetheless. Ah, good boy. Let's see. Okay, so she's trying to figure out who set her up. Could it be someone else in the hostel? I still didn't know why Mark had so much money and had been so willing to give it away, but I think he just really wanted me to come on the beach trip. I couldn't suspect him of theft. Okay. I don't understand. Okay. It didn't take long for my relationship with Mark to return to something like normal after the whole theft incident. In no time, he was asking about the promised date, where we should go and what we should do. He wasn't experienced in the ways of dating, and frankly, neither was I, but it was left up to me to decide where we'd go and what we'd do. Under such intense pressure, I decided to go with the golden standard of all dates: dinner and a movie. My worries about lack of originality immediately faded when I told Mark the plans and his face lit up. I picked a fancy French-Italian restaurant called La Petite Chapelle.
I've always wanted to go on a date like this. It's a classic.
Dinner went smoothly. Mark laughed at my awkward pronunciation of the menu, but I didn't mind. He was surprisingly knowledgeable about high-end French cuisine and helped me make the best selections. We both had some wine and went on our way to the movie theater. Oh no, there's a line. Did a big movie just come out or something? My nerves about the date were getting the better of me, but Mark just laughed.
It'll be nice. We'll get to people watch. Plus, I'll get more time talking with you, and that's the best part of this whole deal.
Wow. There were little things that went wrong, but Mark was such a cheerful person that a bit of a line or a wait for our food or someone being rude simply didn't matter. He turned it into a joke and went on with things. But as we sat and watched the movie, my nerves got worse and worse. There was something that I'd been both looking forward to and terrified of, and that was what might happen after the movie. The end of our date night. Ah. My fear only seemed to make things go faster. Soon enough, we were back at the hostel. Mark happily held my hand and we made our way to my bedroom door. So, I didn't really have an opening to this conversation. I stood awkwardly in front of my doorway and looked at him. To be honest, I don't really know what happens next. Mark seemed surprised, but tapped his chin thoughtfully.
Well, I guess it's whatever we want to happen next, right?
Yeah, I guess so. What do you want to happen next?
Well, I think it would be cool to go inside your room.
Dang, that's smooth. Oh yeah, it would. Okay. I held the door open for him and closed it behind us. Okay, so that's good. Most awkward Malia's ever been.
Right. Well, I'm not... I mean, you might have guessed, but I'm not really experienced in any physical matters.
I did guess, but you're such an affectionate person, it seems like it'd come naturally.
Maybe. Perhaps I will know what to do by nature, or perhaps not. I do not know.
Know what to do when...
Sex? That is what we are talking about, yes?
The sex? Yeah! Yeah. I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page. I shifted uncomfortably, certain that my face was fuchsia at this point. Well, this is kind of nice. It's both of your guys' first time, so could be interesting. Well, I'm interested in having sex with you? I hated the uncertainty in my voice. I wanted to be suave and charismatic, not shy and confused. But then I was just a shy person, so maybe I should have expected this.
I'd like to have sex with you too.
Mark grinned and drew my curtain shut. Well then, I guess we're doing this.
Only if you'd like to.
I'd definitely like to.
Then, well, let me help you.
Whoa! A change. There's been a change. Nice. Awkwardly, far too gently, we took each other's clothes off.
You know, I'm not made of porcelain. I'm not going to break.
I know that. I'm nervous. And I don't want to make you uncomfortable. I don't want either of us to get hurt.
Don't worry about that. I want to be doing this. Do you?
I do. He grinned.
Good. As long as that's the case, we don't have to worry about anything else.
He took my hand in his.
I want to show you how beautiful you are to me.
So much for being the suave one. Whoa! Hi! That angle. Heyo. Although it may have been awkward, it was still sweet and meaningful. It was truly a night that I would never forget. And one that I never wanted to. Well...